When I was 12, my old man took me out behind the shed and taught me how to change the fuel filter on our generator. He handed me the wrench and said, "Son, this land only works if you know how to keep it working." That line stuck in my bones ever since, and maybe that's why even now, decades later, I still live on the same patch of ground he left me. It's not fancy, just a ranch-style place with a porch I rebuilt myself after a storm tore it apart. Solar panels I bolted in one summer when I was broke but stubborn, a deep well, and a shop I probably treat better than my own bedroom. Some folks call it old-fashioned or antisocial. Me? I call it home. And in a world that wants to measure your lawn height or tell you what color mailbox you're allowed to have, having a place that's truly yours, well, that's worth more than any check a bank could ever print. Things were quiet for years. My nearest neighbors were deer, sometimes a stray cow wandering from the farm to the east. But all that peace cracked the day the subdivision came in, shiny billboards and words like modern community living. They called it Maple Hollow, and it came with an HOA, which, if you've never had the pleasure, is like a neighborhood babysitter with way too much power. At first I figured, fine, let them have their postage stamp lots and color-coded driveways. But they weren't happy stopping at their fence line. First it was a letter, crisp white envelope, no return address, just some embossed initials. Inside, a polite offer to buy me out for community expansion. I didn't even finish the second paragraph before tossing it into the fire pit. 2 weeks later, another letter showed up with a highlighted number, $500,000. Now to someone who doesn't know their land, that might sound generous, but I've walked every inch of mine, where the water runs, where the cottonwoods bend, where my dog Rusty likes to sleep under the shade. You can't put a price tag on that. Then came the visit. I was mending fence when a spotless white SUV rolled up, and out stepped this woman in a pale pantsuit, heels crunching gravel like she owned it. She stuck out her hand and said, "Mr. Lawson? I'm Rachel, president of the Maple Hollow Homeowners Association." I wiped my palms on my jeans and nodded. She gave me this speech that sounded like it came off a real estate brochure. Shared community values, residential harmony, blah blah. I let her talk until she paused for air, then I said flat, "Not interested." She didn't even blink, just smiled wider, like a shark that smelled blood. After that day, things got weird. A sedan parked near my boundary for hours, men with clipboards and safety vests surveying my fence line, like they were casing the joint. Then one morning I woke up to the rumble of diesel engines and the ground shaking under my boots. I stepped outside and saw bulldozers and backhoes chewing into the dirt along my western boundary. Dust everywhere, men moving like clockwork, and standing in the middle, bright scarf, clipboard in hand, was Rachel. She waved like we were at some Sunday barbecue. "Morning, Mr. Lawson," I shouted back. "What the hell is this?" She said, "All smooth, just routine drainage work, well within our jurisdiction." I stared at the trench they were cutting, 4 feet from my fence, deep and widening by the minute, looping like they meant to circle my whole property. I said, "You're trapping me on my own land." And she gave this syrupy smile and said, "Not trapping, just giving you room to reconsider our offer." That night, sitting on my porch with Rusty curled by my feet, I realized this wasn't some miscommunication. This was war. And if it was war they wanted, I wasn't coming in blind. See, years ago I'd set up hidden trail cams around the place, inside fence posts, in birdhouses, even inside one mean-looking garden gnome. Call it paranoia, call it experience living in Oklahoma with thieves and tornadoes, but those cameras became my best weapon. And oh, they caught everything. Workers dragging flags across my property, laughing about how he'll cave by next week. Even Rachel herself pointing at my well pump and saying, "Cut close enough and he'll break. He can't live without water." I didn't rage. I didn't storm over there. I just uploaded the clips online. Local Facebook groups, then YouTube. Title, HOA digs trench around private property without consent. And boy, did it blow up. Folks commented things like, "Wait, isn't that Lawson's place? That's not even in the HOA." Within hours, local news called me for interviews. And with every new view, the HOA dug their hole deeper. They tried fighting back, blocked my driveway with a dump truck, fenced off my well, spread rumors online saying I was squatting on community land. But the more they lied, the more footage I dropped, screenshots, video clips, workers blocking deliveries, Rachel strutting along the trench like some suburban general. People from out of state started making memes. When the HOA becomes a dictatorship, you build a moat. I laughed, but inside I knew things were escalating. One night, around 3 a.m., Rusty started growling low. I peeked out and saw flashlights bobbing near the trench. Two men in maple hollow security jackets unloading concrete blocks, dropping them right into the only gap I'd cleared. And who was standing behind them, arms crossed, watching like she was approving the job? Rachel. I didn't yell. I just stepped out with my phone recording, flashlight on, caught every second. Next morning, that clip went online too. But by then, I wasn't just angry, I was exhausted. I'd done the polite thing, the legal thing, the public thing. Now I had to protect myself. So the next night, when that same pickup rolled back in, I was waiting on the porch with my rifle slung over my shoulder. Legal, registered, loaded. I didn't point it, I didn't need to. I just walked up and said, "Evening, boys. This is private property. What you're doing is criminal trespass. Step one more foot onto my land, and Oklahoma law lets me defend it." One of them set the block down like it was ticking. The other muttered, "Screw this," and climbed back in the truck. Rachel's face twisted with rage. She spat, "You'll regret this." I hit record and said, "No, ma'am. You will." That clip went viral, not just local viral, but national. Headlines: HOA traps man on his land. He fights back with footage and firearms. Suddenly the sheriff's office had no choice but to act. My lawyer, Jenna, filed for emergency injunction. In court, she laid it all out. Real surveys, my footage, forged permits the HOA had been flashing around. One signature even belonged to a man who'd been dead 3 years. Fraud, plain and simple. The judge looked over his glasses and said, "Cease all activity, fill the trench, restore access." Within a week, county trucks rolled in, not HOA crews. They backfilled that ditch, pulled out the fences, unblocked my well. Rachel? She was arrested. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy to intimidate, you name it. Her mugshot hit the evening news before her SUV was even towed. The HOA board collapsed. Neighbors who once avoided me came around quiet. Some apologized, some just shook their heads. When the ground was finally smooth again, I built a new fence, cedar posts sunk deep in concrete. On the western side, I nailed a metal sign. Trench 2025. Never again. Rusty sat beside me, tail thumping, as I looked out over the land my dad had taught me to care for. My land, still mine. Now, here's the thing. Some folks told me I should have just taken the money. That piece isn't worth the fight. Others said I went too far, bringing out the gun. Me, I figure I just stood where my father once stood and kept the place running. But I'm curious what you think. Was I right to hold my ground, or should I have let it go and walked away? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I've got my answer, but I want to hear yours.